All right, I haven't made a video in a while, so I wanted to address this video that I saw this morning while I was doing my exercises. And usually, what I'll do is I'll turn on my YouTube while I work out, and my algorithm now is right now filled with SpaceX stuff. And the Young Turks came up, and I'm a fan of the Young Turks. I listen to them. I like Anna. I like Senk, and I listen to them argue. And and obviously, you're not going to agree with everyone anytime 100%. Well, as long as you're not a part of the red team, blue team thing. So I listen to them, and I'm listening to them talk about SpaceX, and it's obvious they have an agenda here. Like they're trying, like they even say in several times throughout the video here we're going to watch that they don't really know what they're talking about in detail, and that's fine. Most people don't know everything about everything. Like and so if you don't know, then either A, don't talk about it, or B, do the research and find out. But what they do is because the agenda is Elon Musk bad and SpaceX, bad, and they're trying to create some fear here. They have a lot of vagaries, a lot of things that they could have easily figured out the answers to, and they influence people. And so the point I'm trying to make, and by the way, and I know there are people on the right say, yeah, see, that's why the Young Turks, blah, 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 and this is why I don't listen to this. Yeah, but the right does the same thing. Like we all need to understand that the objective of the media, unfortunately, is not to inform, but is to create emotion and to get eyeballs. And so, and what this does is when I watch them talk about subjects that I don't know as much about, it makes me now say, well, how slanted is this of what they're talking about? And I already do that. I already say that, but I don't usually put the work in to do the research afterwards. So I'm going to share some of my problems with this video they just put out, and hopefully it informs people. And by the way, if there's something I say wrong, please share, tell me. The whole goal is to be less wrong and to get all the good information so we can make informed opinions and not just look to confirm our biases or our hatred. And you don't have to like Elon Musk, you don't have to like SpaceX, you don't have to like any of these things, but you should at least be informed and make your decisions based upon the proper information. So I'm going to play this video at 1 1/4 speed to kind of make sure this video doesn't go too long with me chiming in. But let's go to the videotape. Let's bring up Senk and let's let him play.
Wait, what? That historic $1 trillion IPO just happened like a minute ago. Why are we talking about borrowing money? And help us understand this.
Well, Cenk, it turns out that the cost or the price of the SpaceX shares has actually gone down following news that SpaceX would need what's referred to as a bridge loan. Let's take a quick look at this graph because it'll kind of help you visualize what's happening to the share price for SpaceX following the initial public offering. So this is a chart from the New York Times. It represents how the price of SpaceX stock has changed since its IPO. And that IPO debuted at $135 a share, but by June 16th, it traded for just over $200 a share. But as you can see, the price dropped for several days in a row after that. And as we speak, the share of SpaceX trades for just over $156.
Okay, that's all true. And all I'm going to say so far is that's normal. By the way, I have a video on TikTok about 3 weeks before SpaceX IPO where I said this is exactly what's going to happen. It's going to shoot up and then it's going to come back down. Well, why is that? Watch the other video. But this is not abnormal. This is normal behavior for an IPO, especially an IPO as hyped as this one was. All right, so let's continue on. So far, so good.
Okay, so it's not uncommon for the price per share to fluctuate following an initial public offering. So this is not outrageous, this isn't so crazy. However, the word of SpaceX needing to borrow $20 billion has made some of the investors into the company a little bit concerned, a little worried. And Bloomberg in this next video explains why. Take a look.
The company yesterday said that they are seeking to raise investment-grade debt for the very first time. Bloomberg News has reported that they are seeking some $20 billion in debt. Now, this is an unusual move. This is early in the lifespan of a company to be seeking that sort of debt. Again, the company is not profitable yet. They have been burning through cash. And some of the language that they have used to talk to debt investors, let's take a look at that, because it's very similar to what we saw in their IPO prospectus. It is very grandiose. This company is talking about how our mission is to build the systems and technologies necessary to make life multi-planetary. Now, that sounds all fine and well if you're trying to drum up excitement for equity investors. Debt is a very different instrument. Some of these investors could be with the company for up to 30 years. They get paid at maturity. They get that interest as well.
All right. So first off, before she speaks about what she just heard, why are they raising $20 billion? Here's the question. Here's the answer. I don't know. Who knows? But you should try to figure out. But SpaceX is doing, first of all, they said it's unlikely for our company to do something like this. Yeah, everything is unlikely with SpaceX. They're doing something that they have no competition. The closest competition is like Blue Origin, and they're like 10 years behind. They haven't even gotten to outer space yet, or orbital space. So the point being is, what do they need $20 billion for? I don't know. They're trying to go to Mars. They're trying to make reusable spaceships. They're trying to get the Starship which they're having problems with. So I don't know how much this costs.Maybe they need more than what they just had. Like, the point being is, it's odd, but also, when's the last company IPO'd at $1.7 trillion? Never. So yeah, so there's more money involved, and it's different than any other IPO before, because this is different than any IPO before. We don't know. So because we don't know something does not mean you get to infer that there's problems or there's questions or whatever. All right, so let's go back to what Anna's going to say.
Cenk, back over to you.
Yeah, look, there's something strange going on here. The point of the going public is to get the money you need to run your company, and it seems like they got plenty. So I'm just perplexed by the $20 billion loan.
Let me really suss that out for all of you guys, okay? After just recently securing $86 billion in a record IPO, Elon Musk's SpaceX plans to raise at least $20 billion more by selling bonds. That just means loan. They need a loan of $20 billion. After $86 billion record IPO. Like, what's going on? What's going on here? Okay, so there's more. The proceeds from the bond offering will mostly be used to refinance a $20 billion bridge loan SpaceX took in March as it prepared to go public. Such loans basically ensure that companies planning to go public have the money they would need to wait out an unfavorable turn in market conditions. But why are you expecting an unfavorable turn in market conditions? Okay, it is hard to imagine that SpaceX needs more money. SpaceX told prospective buyers of the bonds that it had some $100.8 billion in cash and cash equivalent securities in the bank on June 19th. That's more than Microsoft had in the bank at the end of last year. Matt Phillips from Axios reported that. So look, I don't understand these things, right? Like, this is not my wheelhouse, and I feel like you have a firm grasp on these things, at least better than I do. So like, what do you think is happening here?
Right, so if you don't have a firm grasp of it, why are you talking like this is a bad thing? Like, why are you like, well, why do they need more money? What is this? I have no clue what I'm talking about. Well, then be quiet. Okay, great, thanks. I'm glad you're throwing it over to Cenk. Let's see if he knows what he's talking about. But the point being is, Microsoft, just so everybody understands, Microsoft makes software. Software costs very little to nothing, right? So Microsoft makes lots and lots of money from making software. SpaceX makes hardware, giant rockets that are 10 times bigger than like the Statue of Liberty, and they're flying it and reusing it and catching it and doing very hard things in space. And they're making satellites, and they're making now they're making a bunch of solar panels and solar business that they're doing. So yeah, they might need more money. That's the cost of rocketry, and especially the size of the rocketry that they're doing. There's nothing wrong with this. All right, but they're making it out, and I hate when people, well, what do you know? This is the media trick. Like, it's like, could it be a problem? Could this be an issue? Could this be a bad sign? These are questions to create a fear in you. It's like, I don't know, could it be? Maybe, it sounds like it, right? So anyway, let's see what Cenk says.
So look, massive speculation and then profiteering off the speculation. So let me break it down a little bit. So first, logic says that if you have $100 billion in cash and you have a $20 billion loan, you pay off the $20 billion loan. I get why they took the bridge loan in the first place to get to the IPO.
Yeah.
Okay. And 20 billion for a company their size, all right, it's not irrational. But now you got 100 billion in cash. So when you keep the cash, you can't spend it all at once, guys. So you've got to then invest the cash to some degree to get money back. So now you're paying interest, but then using the money to speculate that you're going to make more money than you would in paying the interest on the debt. Otherwise, you'd pay them 20 billion back right away. You see what I'm saying? So let's say I'm making up numbers here, that the interest on the debt you have is 5%. You're hoping to make more than 5%, 10% or whatever with the money cash that you have. So you're profiting off of that loan. But that's not, has nothing to do with the core business. Are you going to build the business or are you not going to build the business? I don't understand why these.
Yeah, Sank, because they might be actually needing more money to do whatever operations or build whatever they need to do. Seems simple to me.
Banks even agree to it. I would say you got 100 billion in the bank, brother. You pay me my loan and I'm done. But anyway, some other guy, some other bank financed it. Fine, they're allowed to do that. So now the problem that I'm worried about is, so SpaceX says, "Oh, we're this amazing company already," and they're good. Like they do interesting product. I get it. They've had some success. So two things can be true at the same time. You could have a great company worth $100 billion and then you pretend it's worth $1 trillion. So it's still a good company at 100 billion, but if you're pretending it's worth $1 trillion, that could create a giant problem. Okay.
All right, so this was that comment was the reason I was like, okay, I'm going to make a video. Pretending to be $1 trillion company? There's no pretending. Like a company is worth what you say it's worth. If I go to sell my house and I want to pretend that my house is worth $1 million and somebody comes along and buys it for $1 million, then I'm not pretending it's worth $1 million. If somebody buys it for $800,000, it's worth 800,000. I can pretend it's worth $1 million. In that case, I would be pretending because somebody only paid 800,000. SpaceX is not pretending to be $1 trillion company or $2 trillion company, by the way. They are. That's what the market does. You take the number of shares that are out there times the market price, and that's what the company is valued at. It's not a pretend at all. No pretending needed.
So now, if you don't already have all these plans that you've made and that you're executing with $100 billion, then we have no idea how good your company is going to be because you didn't even make those investments yet. And we don't even quite know what those investments are going to be.
Oh my God, this is a disaster.
So, and you're investing.
Oh my God, here, Anna, this is a disaster. It's a disaster. We don't know what those investments are going to be. Well, you won't know what the investments are going to be if you actually don't look into what investments are being made. If you did, you would know that SpaceX already has been making investments. They just bought Cursor for $60 billion. That's now it was a stock exchange, but they are making investments. So maybe they need the money now, or maybe that's why the stock went down because maybe I don't know what kind of the lockout period or if there was a lockout period for the owners of Cursor who got $60 billion in SpaceX stock, but maybe they decided to cash out. It's possible. I don't know. So the point being is, but the dread, oh my God. If you don't know, then you don't know. There's no reason to be, oh my God. And all right, back to Sank.
Investment is multi-planetary life.
Oh my God, it's a disaster.
What we're gonna live in Uranus? I don't want to live in Uranus. Okay, but what are we doing? This is.
Could you make a cornier joke? Could you? Yeah, the SpaceX, by the way, part of Elon Musk, if you don't know, part of Elon Musk's pay package is that with SpaceX is that there has to be a colony on Mars. I think it's in 10 years, and there has to be over 1 million people living on Mars, like in order for him to get part of his pay. So this is not like something that they're just saying, like this is something that this is his goal. It's the whole reason he's started SpaceX in the first place. So the point being is, because you don't believe it and because you're making some ridiculous jokes. The goal is to go to Mars. We do have rovers on Mars. We do send ships to Mars. We do know how to get to Mars. It's a matter of getting people there, and that's what he wants to do. And that's the mission of the. Because you think if you would have went back 10 years, 20 years from now, you would say you're going to have self-driving cars. That's ridiculous. You're gonna re-land these rockets. No one makes rockets. The United States is out of the space program. Why would you do? Like you would say all the things that now we say are commonplace were ridiculous as well. Like, okay, yeah, so all right, continue with your sophomore joke.
Nonsense. People are going to go pay to live in Mars or Saturn. No, they're not. In our lifetimes, that's just made up marketing gobbledygook. Okay, that means they don't have real plans.
Okay. What happens to?
Wait, before she gets going. So because they don't have real plans, they do have real plans. Because you don't look at the plans. Like if you stick your head in the sand, then you can't sit in there and go, well, there's no real plans. Like we know the SpaceX plans. The people who are investors know the SpaceX plans, so they're looking to go to the moon. They're looking to raise money through the Starlink satellites. They already have petitioned or asked the FCC or the FC, whoever is in charge of the flight, but they want to put 1 million satellites around the planet. They're going to launch these satellites from the moon. The goal is to make a moon base and then launch the satellites from the moon, and then they can have data centers also in space with getting solar power because it's 24-hour power, and then diffusing the cooling into space because it's emptiness of space. You can cool the satellites, and then all this energy and data and AI will allow them now to launch the rockets from the moon, which reason you want to do all this stuff from the moon is because there's less gravity, so you don't have to use so much fuel. And then they want to get Mars, then send to Mars from there. Like these are the plans. That's a rough outline of the plans, but there you go, Senk. We already know the plans. You don't know the plans because you didn't care. You just want to go, oh, there are people are going to be in Uranus. Okay, let's go.
Ordinary American workers who have been dutifully contributing to their IRAs or their 401ks, which of course tend to have a mix of mutual funds or ETFs and are very likely invested in SpaceX. And if SpaceX fails in some way, like what happens to those investors?
It doesn't even have to fail, guys. So let me give you the enraging scenario that some people are already living through, okay? So they.
All right, I gotta keep interrupting. First of all, Anna, any company could fail and all companies will fail eventually. It's just the nature of life. So again, it's the fear. There's people who are invested in the stock market and their retirement funds, and so what if SpaceX fails? All right, and so these are what if questions. These are just fear mongering questions. And the point being is SpaceX would be, first of all, none of these retirement accounts have SpaceX in the portfolio yet because there's a 15-day waiting period with NASDAQ, which we'll talk about in a little bit, for them to even buy into be bought in. And I don't think 15 business days have passed yet. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But okay, now this is where they're grabbing you, the normal person, and you're like, wait a second, my retirement account? What's she talking about? There's fear. It's going to affect me because that's really what people care about. So, all right, Sank, so tell us how it's going to affect us.
Take this price out at 135. They drive it up, everybody gets excited. And at that time, everybody's egging on the suckers at the table. And if you saw The Big Short or you read The Big Short, the suckers at the table are the guys who run the 401ks and the pension funds. So those are the guys that don't directly profit themselves from those funds. So, but they do get taken out to fancy dinners by the guys who are trying to rob them blind, et cetera. They get all these perks, et cetera. So they've set up this terrible system. So those suckers come in at 200 because obviously suckers did come in at 200. So then when it goes back down to 125 or even lower, if Elon was able to sell, and there might be rules around that, you've got to look into see whether it's Elon, the original investors, et cetera.
There might be rules around it. You have to look into it. Yeah, why didn't you do that?
But certainly insiders bought it at 135 when it first launched.
Right.
That is guaranteed.
Yes.
Okay.
The Justice Department just said it's.
Hold on, I got to get past our commercial.